Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. So I just had kind of an interesting experience today, and I just want to share that with you. So, I had seen, I think it was another video on one of the channels that I watch on YouTube, go figure. And they were talking about Agenda 2030 and all the different plans. And, you know, I was kind of listening to it in the background while I was doing dishes. So I just caught bits and pieces, you know, of what was being said. And my mind wasn't fully on it, but something about Agenda 2030 kind of stuck in my head. So when I got done with the dishes, I just Googled Agenda 2030. And it came up to the United Nations website. And there, anyway, I believe it's September, I don't remember the dates, of 2015, they got together, the United Nations did, in New York City. And they came to agreement of how, basically, my summary of what I was reading is how they were going to save the world and make it a great place, save the planet, save the people. And so they came up with these things. And so they had different goals that they wanted to meet by 2020. And it looks like most of those were met. And then more that they would meet in 2030. And then I think that it's 2050. So Agenda 2030 is the goals that they want to have met by 2030. And I'm not going to go over all those things. You can go read it yourself. It's easy to find. It was the first thing that came up when I Googled that. But it's basically, you know, globally, every single human being on the planet, you know, taking care of our health, taking care of, you know, our food and our water and clean air to breathe and saving the planet and eradicating disease and poverty and empowering women and girls. And, you know, I suppose a lot of it might even kind of sound good or whatever, but when I read it, I was reading it in light of things I've read in scripture and also what we're seeing happen, how they're genetically changing our food and not wanting us to eat meat, but eat bugs and plants instead. And I don't know. Yeah, it just really struck me of how it is, you know, control that is desired to control the planet. You know that old game Risk? Did you ever play that? We used to play that all the time, you know, and whoever wins rules the world. It's a board game and it's about, you know, conquering the planet with your armies. And I remember even as a kid, we used to, you know, call it the tribulation game or the world power game or whatever, because, you know, there's just this thing, you know, that's been there. And the motivator behind it, I believe, is Satan or Lucifer or, you know, the dragon or whatever you want to call him, to rule the world, to be in control of the world. Over the course of history, there have been different rulers that have tried to dominate the world. And even now, we have different ones that want to dominate the world. And so the United Nations, you know, it's all these countries that have come together and they're going to work on it together. So when I was reading it, the part that really got me is when I saw that it was September, whatever these dates were, in 2015, that they came to these agreements and signed these goals into effect or whatever, and started coming up with their plan. And, you know, to make sure they're feeding the world and that everything's affordable, that they're giving water to the world, that they're even providing clean air to the world, that they are taking care of, you know, getting rid of poverty and famine and going to control everything. And what hit me was it was in that same time, in the fall of 2015, that the Lord began to talk to me and tell me that it was time for his children to wake up, that we needed to wake up, not be woke. That's the fake version, but to wake up, to be sober and alert and on top of things and see what's going on. And then he gave me a list of 7 things that he wanted to change in my life, that I needed, some things that needed to be added in my life, some things that needed to be removed from my life, and some things that needed to be stepped up. And if you're curious what those 7 things are, you can go back in, because I did a little video series on it. I think there's 7 or 8 videos in it, but it's called Wake Up. So if you look at my playlist, the playlist Wake Up, if you watch that, it will tell you each one of the 7 things. And when he told me those things, it was one of those times when I knew God was speaking to me. There was no doubt about it. And then I had come across this kid, I'll say kid because I'm old enough almost to be his grandma, that was on YouTube and very popular, I guess. I'd never heard of him. But one of his videos came up and he was talking about 6 things that God was telling, and this was at the same time, 6 things that God was telling him, that he needed to wake up and do these 6 things. And so I when I had seen whatever it was he had in the title, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting and familiar. So I clicked on it. I watched his video and I was going, and those 6 things were on my list, but he didn't have the 7th thing, which I can tell you right now is find like-minded people. He didn't have that yet. And I say yet because another video, I think it was his next one came out, that he added to it and said the Lord told him to add this 7th thing, which was finding like-minded people. And so I was like, okay, that is confirmation to me. And then there were other things that kept happening where people were, I found that other Christians, God was telling them the same thing. It's time to wake up and you need to start doing this. I know one of them is to be praying more, like really praying, not about, okay, Lord, I really would like to be able to get a new truck. And I'd like that truck to be a 4-wheel drive. And, it would be so nice to have, not that kind of stuff. Or, can you make Sally be nicer to me? Or, none of that stuff. But Lord, what is your will for my life today? What is it you want me to do? Being in this communication with him about what his plans are and what he wants. Because as he went on and has been speaking to me since, he told me everything's going to change, and the world as we know it and the way we're used to doing business and conducting our lives is all going to change. And I don't know where you've been, but if you can't see that that's already happened to some degree, and it's going to, I believe, be even more so, if you can't see how things have changed, and we don't do things like we used to do them anymore. And the way we were used to, people keep saying, I'm just waiting for it to get back to normal. Ain't gonna go back to what it was. We've entered into something new. And so if you can't see that, then you probably, been on vacation to another planet or something. I don't know. Because I don't know how you could be here and not see it. Maybe you just don't. I don't know. But anyway, things are changing. He's told me time is going to accelerate. And, again, I find lots and lots of people that agree. They're noticing time is accelerating, that a lot of things are changing, that, the Bible even talks about, suddenly there's a bunch of buzzards. We have buzzards in the sky here all the time. Anyway, I don't think you can ever look in the sky and not see a buzzard. There are so many buzzards, but all of a sudden, right out my back window, a whole bunch of them just came in, and they're like a very dark presence. So that was kind of weird. But anyhow, yes, bird dogging, Marvin. I know, I'm getting back. All right. So as, things are changing, things are not the way they were. And the Bible talks about how evil will prevail, and how this has happened before too. That people will call what's evil good and what's good evil. And I know I'm seeing that a lot. There's just a lot of things. I know that our food pantries are starting to run bare again. There are so many people that need help, and there's not enough food to go around. I actually, a video or two ago, I told you about going to the grocery store, and I was able to get everything on my list except one item because they didn't have it. Now, I'm starting to see some things not being available again. I did notice too, the quality of stuff is not very good. When you go to a food pantry, to be given some vegetables that are kind of shriveled up, fruit and vegetables that are kind of shriveled up and on their way out, that's not unusual. Yeah, sometimes they're already full of mold and whatever, and you have to pick through. And for me, it's no big deal because I compost anything I can compost. So I feed my soil with it. But at the grocery store, I noticed, just walking through out of curiosity, some things just kind of shriveled up and not looking that good. And I found that interesting. I think things, maybe for most people, it happens kind of gradually and you don't really even notice how things are going down. I know I bought a thing of dishwashing soap and it was the same price what I had paid last month for it, and so I thought, well, that's good, that price didn't go up. But when I got it home and I put it on the shelf next to the other bottles that I bought before, oh yeah, the bottle's gotten smaller. Price may have stayed the same, but I didn't get near as much soap for the money as before. So inflation, yes, there is inflation. It is on the rise, and things are happening, and I don't know how we can deny it. I hear people deny it, and I just don't get how they're missing it. But to think that at the time that God was telling me all this stuff coming, and like I say, I've been watching it happen, so he's confirmed his word to me, and the importance of doing the things, those 7 things. And I also, at this point now, 9 years later, I can tell you how important it's been for me to be making those changes, and I'm still making them even to greater degrees than what I was, because the need is growing. But to think that at that time that he's saying that to me, the United Nations is meeting and putting all these plans together. Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences, and you do with it what you want. But to me today, I was just like, wow, like God saying, I told you these things for a reason. You didn't know maybe what was going on, and don't always get everything on the news. And even then, if I heard something on the news then, it might not have clicked with me. And because I do remember them meeting in New York City and all that, but that's about the most I remember from back then. So after all, it was 9 years ago, and I was a much younger woman 9 years ago than I am now, I assure you. But anyway, I just found that very interesting. And I've had the Lord say a few other things to me, and they're very personal things. So I'm really only, I've shared one of those things with Marvin because it affects us. But, of things in my own personal life, things that are coming, and things that he's preparing me for. I'm just back at that. I believe it's always been important to listen to God and to be in communication with him, okay? It has always been important. But you're getting to a point where it is more crucial than ever. You see, if we get to a point where if we don't bow down and sell out, that we're not going to be able to buy and sell and do anything, basically everything, 100% of everything you need in order to be faithful to God, you're going to have to trust on him to provide it for you, because the way you've been doing it now, you're not going to be able to have health care. You're not going to be able to have a car to drive. I don't even see how you would have a home to live in. Quite honestly, I've said that before, because even if you own your house and you've paid for it, you still have to pay taxes to your government on it. And if you can't have money and pay anything, then how are you going to pay those taxes? So they're just going to take your land, your home, whatever. So, it's, when you get right down to it, it is possible that we're looking at a time, some or all of us, that all we'll have is the clothes on our back, and that we have to depend on God for absolutely everything, for the next drink of water, for the next meal. And if you've watched my older videos, and the ones I've talked about when my family was homeless, my family being I was the mom, had kids and a stinky old dog and a stinky old husband, that, there was a year that we were homeless, and we learned how to have that kind of faith when there is absolutely no resource there, nothing there. And God says, sit down and trust him to hold you up. And you learn to sit down and trust, even though you can't see it, but trust the hand of God to hold you up. That we had no means to get food, and yet we never missed a meal. God provided for us. We always had laundry soap, which is a whole nother story in itself, which I believe was God showing me that I could always trust him. So do you have that kind of faith where God is your only resource? What if you can't go to the grocery store to get food? What if you can't even grow your own food? What if it's all gone and the only thing you have left in your life as a resource is God? Do you have that kind of faith? And don't be quick to answer, because it's really easy sometimes to go, well, of course, or whatever. But the truth is, we don't really know until we're in that position just how strong our faith really is. But I'll tell you, if it's not strong enough, it's going to need to get strong really fast. I just see God making changes in my life and Marvin's life and the way we live our lives. He's been doing it for a lot of years now, 9 years. And in that time, you know, we have come to where there's things that sometimes aren't available, and other people, you know, even like the power going out, and there's a lot of people, it shuts them down, and you know, they don't have a TV. Oh my goodness, what are they going to do? You know, they don't have lights or anything. You know, we have backups for almost everything, not quite everything. We do have some kinks still we got to take care of. But, you know, even going through a power outage is, I would say, easier on us than it is on other people we know. Yeah. But we've been learning to live without a lot of extras. And, you know, and if you've been following my videos, you know, too, Marvin and I have gone through some hardships and, you know, everything breaking down. In fact, we're still working on getting all the broken stuff fixed. Now, financially, God provided for us in that. And so we've been slowly being able to take care of things. But the supply chain isn't that efficient, and so we're having to do a lot of waiting. We have 3 deliveries to be made this week, and 1 got here today, the one Marvin was waiting on. Then there's 2 that I'm waiting on. 1 will make it so I can cook in my kitchen again like a normal person, and maybe even do dishes like a normal person is the other one. But I had to call today because there's still, you know, I have no idea when. And so the one I'm waiting on a part, well, it should be here by Friday, no later than 3 o'clock. And then the other one, they don't know. They're having to call the vendor to find out because they really don't know when it's coming. And so as soon as they can find out, then they'll let me know. And so there's this kind of thing that even though, you know, where we live anyway, even though we have the money to get something, you go to get it, it's coming from somewhere else. They don't have it sitting here. You know, we're in Smallville. And so, you know, you have to wait, and not everything's moving as quickly and as efficiently as maybe we'd like. And, you know, which helps me just learn patience. Like today, you know, when they said not till Friday, you guys, I've been waiting for this part for a long time. And it's like, you know what? My life's no different than it was. It's no harder than it was. You know, I've been living without that part for a while now. So I'll just keep on doing what I'm doing. The other thing, you know, is I'm waiting on a stove to get here. And, well, you know what? I've been cooking on the wood stove. Now it's starting to get a little warmer, so we're not burning wood in the wood stove as much. So I have this electric hot plate thing. Oh, man, I'll be happy when I don't. I'm thankful to have it, though, because it's something. But I'll be happy when that's not my only option. But just trying to figure out, and I think that's a lot of what God's done with Marvin and I, is just teaching us how to figure it out. When there's a piece missing, what can you use in its place? How can you make this work? And we've gotten pretty good at that. I'm just getting kind of old and tired sometimes, but hey, life goes on and it's still what it needs to be, right? And then we have some family members that need a little extra help from us right now too. And so we're trying to be there for them. So these are interesting days, but I don't know. This morning when I looked that up, Agenda 2030, and started reading through that and then saw when that was taking place, I was like, wow, God is right on time. And there's no such thing as a coincidence. I am fully convinced of that. And it just, I don't know, it encouraged me and kind of wowed me quite a bit too, just to know that, yeah, God is speaking to me and I need to keep listening because, yeah, and not just listen, but actually follow through, obey. And that may not okay, for me to pick up the phone today and call GE and ask them where my part is, if they have any idea when it's going to get here, because they're shipping it and I don't have a tracking number for it. So if I want to know, I have to call them. And so that actually, because of past wounds in life, that really gives me anxiety to have to make that call. Okay. May sound ridiculous to you and I can't explain it all now. I don't know if I could explain it all anyway, but it gives me anxiety. And I have to just kind of push on through it and say, well, other people make these calls every day and it's no big deal. And when I called, it was no big deal. The gal was wonderful and helpful. Now, did she give me the answer I wanted? No, but I got the answer. So I didn't get upset. I didn't go, are you kidding? I've already been waiting. No, I was just like, okay, well, thank you. And I tried to be very loving and sweet back to her. She doesn't have any control over it. And I know the whole supply thing is not what it used to be. And when things come into our area, it seems like it takes a little extra longer because there's no big cities here or anything. I'm sure that's a lot of it. And I don't even know how many people, it's like what was delivered today, it couldn't come and be delivered till they had until the company had other deliveries within this area, whatever the area is for them that they deliver here. Could be the whole state, pretty small state. But, they had to have enough to have a full truck. And so today was, the day that they scheduled it, that they had enough, to fill the truck and we'd get it. And they came and it was awesome. So 1 down, 2 to go. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys, maybe even if it's just to encourage you that, when you think God's speaking to you, listen to him and he'll confirm it. He'll confirm it. Maybe even 9 years from now, he'll confirm it if we're still here. But yeah, so that's that. Do with it what you want. Because I know some people are like, oh, everything's fine. No, I don't think everything's fine. But I do think everything's fine as long as I listen to the Lord and I delight myself in him and I fear him. Yeah, he's talking to me a lot about the fear of the Lord right now and what that is. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having an awesome day. I've got a ton of stuff to get back to. In fact, I got to go help Marvin move a big old rug that is coming to my house, and I'm so excited about that rug. So I'm going to go help him move that, and I'll talk to you hopefully tomorrow. Love you guys. You be good.